Have you ever opened your Budgie's cage, only for them to either freeze in place like a statue, or worse, panic and flap around like the world's ending? Yeah, you're not alone. I still remember the first time I tried to let my Budgie, Kiwi, out of his cage. I thought I was doing everything right, opened the door, gave him space, even had a little treat waiting, but nope. He bolted out, slammed into the wall, and hid behind a curtain for an hour. Meanwhile, I was crawling around the living room, whispering apologies and shaking a bag of millet like a maniac. Getting your Budgie out of its cage can feel like a high-stakes mission, and it's even more nerve-wracking when your bird is scared, untamed, or brand new to your home. But trust me, it doesn't have to be chaotic. It can actually become one of the most rewarding parts of bonding with your bird. In this video, we're breaking down exactly how to safely, calmly, and successfully get your Budgie out of the cage. Whether your bird is shy, skittish, totally untrained, or just not used to freedom, yet we'll cover what to do, what not to do, and how to work with your Budgie's unique personality to make cage time and free flight time something they actually enjoy. We'll go over how to read their behavior, set up a safe space, use the right training techniques, and make sure they go back into the cage without turning it into a game of hide and seek. But before you even think about opening that cage door, there's something crucial you need to understand about your Budgie's brain. Stay with me, this next part changes everything. Understanding Budgie behavior. All right, let's talk about something a lot of people miss when working with their Budgie. How they're wired, because once you get that, everything else starts to make more sense. First off, Budgies are prey animals. That means their brains are hardwired for one thing above all else: survival. In the wild, they're constantly on alert for predators. Even the tiniest shadow or a sudden movement could mean danger. So when you reach into the cage or even just stand nearby, your Budgie isn't thinking, "Oh look, my loving human is here." They're thinking, "Is this the moment I get eaten?" It's not personal, it's instinct. And that instinct shows up in different ways. Fear in Budgies doesn't always look the way you'd expect. Some will freeze completely motionless, eyes wide, feathers tight. Others will lash out and bite, not because they're mean, but because they're terrified. And then there are the ones who take off in a panic, flying blindly around the room trying to find safety. This is why learning to read their body language is so important. A relaxed Budgie might sit on one foot, feathers slightly puffed, maybe even grinding their beak softly. But an anxious one, you'll see them breathing fast, eyes darting, wings held tight to the body. Sometimes their tail will twitch or bob. Subtle signs, but powerful clues. And here's the truth that every new bird parent needs to hear. Trust takes time. It's not something you can force. Budgies don't care how much you spend on their toys or how badly you want them to love you. They care about consistency, about feeling safe, about learning that your presence isn't a threat. And when you build that trust slowly, gently, patiently, you open the door to a real bond. A connection that isn't just about getting them out of the cage, but about them wanting to come to you. So now that you're speaking a little Budgie, let's make sure the world outside their cage feels safe enough to explore. Preparing for a safe Budgie exit. Okay, you've got a basic understanding of how your Budgie thinks. Now, it's time to set the stage literally, because the space outside the cage needs to feel just as safe as the inside, or they're not going anywhere. First things first, secure the room. Close all doors and windows. Cover any mirrors or glass panels. Budgies don't understand reflections, and they can crash right into them thinking there's more space. Turn off any ceiling fans. Move pets like cats or dogs out of the room, and double-check for hazards like cords, candles, or open water cups. It sounds obvious, but even a small oversight can lead to a big scare or injury. Next up, control the lighting and noise. You want a calm, quiet environment. Soft lighting helps birds feel more secure. They don't want to feel like they're in the spotlight. And loud noises like TVs, vacuums, or even loud conversations can be overwhelming. Think peaceful vibes. Now here's a fun one, tempt them. Place a sprig of millet or a favorite toy just outside the cage door. Let it sit there. Don't coax or pressure. This is about letting curiosity do the work. If they see something they love just outside their comfort zone, it creates a natural incentive to explore on their terms. Another tip, practice the door routine. Open the cage door at the same time each day and just leave it open. No hand inside, no movement. Just let them get used to the idea that, hey, this door opens sometimes and nothing scary happens. Birds love routine. Once they trust the pattern, they start exploring it, and most importantly, you need to stay calm and consistent. Budgies are masters at reading your energy. If you're tense, rushing, or trying too hard, they'll pick up on that and back off. But if you're relaxed, patient, and predictable, they'll feel safe enough to take the first step. Now the stage is set, but what if your bird is still unsure, scared, or totally uninterested? Don't worry next. We'll break down specific techniques based on your budgie's personality. Techniques for various budgie personalities. So you've prepped the space, opened the door, and your budgie just sits there, or panics, or hides in a corner of the cage like you've invited a hawk into the room. Here's the thing. Not all budgies are the same. Some are bold little explorers, others are shy observers, and some have had rough starts and need way more time to feel safe. Let's break this down by personality type. Scared budgies. Scared budgies are the ones that seem frozen in place. They stare, they flinch at every movement. Maybe they even pant slightly from stress. The key here is slow desensitization. You're not just opening a door, you're teaching them the world outside their cage isn't dangerous. Start by simply sitting near the cage. No sudden movements, no reaching in, just exist near them. Talk softly, read a book aloud. Let your voice become background music in their world. Next, bring in millet or a favorite treat, but don't use it to lure or bribe. Just place it near the open cage door. You want the message to be, when the door opens, good things appear, and nothing scary happens. Also, let them watch, not perform. You don't need to interact with them right away. Let them see you moving around, drinking coffee, tidying up. This helps normalize your presence. You become part of the environment, not a threat to react to. With time, they'll begin inching toward the door on their own terms, and that's a huge win. Untamed budgies. These little rebels often haven't had much human interaction or any positive experience with it. Rule number 1, do not chase them, ever. One frantic grab or panicked pursuit can erase weeks of trust building. Instead, think of it like you're taming a wild bird with time and kindness, because you are. Start training inside the cage first. The cage is their safe zone, so teach basics like the step-up command, gentle touch desensitization, and name association before you even think about outside the cage interaction. For example, hold a perch and say, "Step up," every time you offer it. Reward them with millet or gentle praise when they respond, even if it's just a toe on the stick. That's progress. Consistency is everything. Do short sessions daily. Same time, same tone. Over time, your budgie will learn you're not just safe, you're part of their routine. Also, remember, normalize your presence. Sit near the cage, move slowly, talk to them while you clean or feed. You want your movements and your energy to feel predictable. It might take days, it might take weeks. But if you respect their pace, they'll start to come around, and when they finally hop out that door on their own, it's incredible. New budgies. The brand new additions. These birds are in a whole new world and usually dealing with information overload. Give them an adjustment period. For the first few days or even the first week, don't handle them at all. Let them observe. Let them take in the sights and sounds of their new home. Don't rush it. Keep their cage in a steady, quiet spot where they can feel secure. Routine matters a lot here. Feed them at the same time. Keep lights and noise predictable and avoid too much change all at once. Once they start hopping around, preening and chirping, you'll know they're feeling more at ease. That's when you can begin with gentle introductions to hands. Try resting your hand inside the cage for just a few minutes a day. No movement, no pressure. Let your hand just exist in their space. The first few times, they'll likely keep their distance. That's okay. One day, they'll get curious enough to hop closer. That's the beginning of your bond. And here's something important. Every bird has its own timeline. Some will warm up to you in days. Others might take weeks or longer. It doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong. It just means they're figuring out if you're safe. Trust is earned, not expected. Each budgie has their own personality. So what happens after they finally take the leap and fly out? Let's talk about how to get them back in the cage without turning it into a game of chase or stress. Getting your budgie back in the cage. So your budgie finally took the leap wings out, heart racing, exploring the world beyond the bars. But now comes the part that stresses most budgie parents out. How do I get them back in the cage without traumatizing them? Here's the golden rule. Don't panic. Don't chase. It's super tempting to flap around the room with a towel like you're catching a butterfly. But trust me, all that teaches your budgie is going back in the cage is scary and means fun time is over. Instead, flip the narrative. The cage should feel like a safe landing spot, not a punishment. One of the easiest ways to do this? Mill it. Use it like a welcome mat. Hang it just inside the cage door or on a favorite perch inside. Let your budgie see that the cage food, comfort, and familiar routine. Speaking of routine, set a consistent home time. Budgies are creatures of habit. If you get them into a daily rhythm like out-of-cage time every morning for an hour, followed by millet and lights down, they'll eventually learn when it's time to go back in. Want to level up? Try the cage game. Every time your budgie goes back into the cage on their own, even by accident, praise them. Offer a treat. Make it a celebration. They'll start associating returning with positive feedback, not confinement. Still can't get them back in? Use the dim the lights trick. When the room gets a little darker, budgies become calmer and more cooperative. Gently guide them with your hand or perch back toward the cage. No sudden moves, just calm, quiet encouragement. The key takeaway? Stay chill, be consistent, and make the cage a place they want to return to, not something they dread. But wait, why does your budgie seem to avoid going back into the cage in the first place? Let's explore the real reasons behind that little standoff in the next section. Why budgies might avoid returning to the cage. So, your budgie's happily zipping around the room, chirping up a storm, but when it's time to go back in the cage, suddenly, it's a game of hide and seek with you always losing. Why? Well, for your budgie, the cage often means one thing, the end of fun. And who wants to voluntarily walk into that? Imagine if every time you went home, someone turned off the lights and took away your snacks. That's what the cage can feel like unless we change the vibe. Another reason they resist? Boredom. If the cage is bare, predictable, and has nothing to do but eat and stare at bars, why go back in? Budgies are smart, curious little fluffballs. They need enrichment swings, foraging toys, climbing areas, and things that spark their interest. And sometimes it's about bad memories. Maybe your budgie was chased, grabbed, or forced back into the cage. That leaves a mark. In their mind, the cage becomes a trap, not a refuge. So how do we fix it? Easy. Make the cage a place they love. Toss in a fresh treat every time they go in. Rotate toys so it feels new and exciting. Keep it cozy, familiar, and calm. The goal is for them to think, hey, this is actually kinda nice. When they start seeing the cage as their safe space, re-entry becomes way less dramatic. Avoiding the cage is one thing, but doing the wrong thing during training, that could set you back weeks. Let's talk about what not to do next. What not to do. All right, so you've made progress. Your budgie's getting braver, maybe even exploring outside the cage. But here's where it can all go sideways, if you accidentally do the wrong thing. Let's start with the biggest trust breaker. Never, ever grab or force your budgie. Even if you're just trying to help to them, it feels like being snatched by a predator. One wrong move like that can undo weeks of gentle progress. Next, avoid loud reactions. No yelling, sudden arm flails, or frustrated sighs. Budgies are hyper-tuned to sound and body language. If you freak out, they'll assume danger and shut down. Don't punish them. Yelling, tapping the cage, or isolating them, that doesn't teach a budgie a lesson, it just makes them scared of you. Remember, they're prey animals. They don't respond to discipline like a dog might. What works instead? Patience, rewards, positive associations, and please be consistent. If one day you're calm and encouraging, and the next you're waving your hands trying to just get it over with, your bird's going to get confused, and that slows everything down. Finally, resist the urge to take shortcuts. I know, it's tempting, but every budgie learns at their own pace. Rushing only pushes them away. Your job is to be the steady, safe presence they learn to trust. You've come this far, and so has your budgie. Let's wrap things up with a few final tips to keep the momentum going and make this bond even stronger. So, let's quickly recap the key steps we've covered today to help your budgie feel safe, calm, and comfortable outside their cage. First, prepare the environment. Make sure the room is safe, calm, and free of distractions. Then, read your budgie's behavior. Understanding their body language is key. Whether they're scared, untamed, or new, the right approach can make all the difference. And remember, personalize your technique. There's no one-size-fits-all method, so take your time, be patient, and move at your bird's pace. And hey, progress is progress, no matter how small. Maybe your budgie flew all the way across the room today, or maybe they just peeked out the door. Every step counts. I remember when my budgie Kiwi was terrified of anything outside the cage. But after weeks of calm encouragement, I watched her take her first flight, and it was a moment of pure joy. If I can do it, so can you. If you've enjoyed these tips, don't forget to like this video and comment below with your bird's name or story. I'd love to hear about your journey. And if you want more helpful videos like this, subscribe for all things budgie care. Whether your budgie flew today or just peeked out the door, you're building something beautiful.